Constitution and the 14th Amendment, which was a post-Civil War thing to make sure that some states did not take away the rights of former slaves that had been brought to the country or their children. And so that's it. I mean, it is the 14th Amendment is deeply rooted in the freedom of African Americans here in our country. Free
But I
people
would
who had been enslaved.
suggest,
Yeah.
but I would suggest the reason that it came to the level of a constitutional amendment was because it was the practice held
Mm.
by the founders of the country. They
Yes.
didn't
And
come
it was
up with it.
being subverted by the insurrectionist states.
Yes, the insurrectionist states
not
that
to
broke
connect too many
away.
dots.
But that's the perfect connection. And that's what Donald Trump knows he is doing. He knows that by signing an executive order to revoke citizen birthright, he is commenting on the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Of course, his advisors know that. Of course, that is the context around slavery. It is something that has been held dear to this country, that all it takes for you, we are not a country made by creed, by religion, by bloodline, but if you are born in this country, you are the same citizen as everyone else, regardless of who your parents are. Donald Trump is a traitor, but his children are birthright citizens. It doesn't matter. And he wants to revoke that.
But now
I mean, this
they
is an
have to know that,
anti-constitutionalist
yeah,
guy.
they have to know that this won't go into effect. Like, there's no way the Supreme Court will uphold this. An executive order doesn't trump the Constitution. So is it just dog whistling? Is it just fanning the flames? What is the point of an executive order like this?
The amount of time it will take to adjudicate these executive orders, for someone to have standing, for them to be challenged in court, for it to make its way up the ladder to a point where it could actually be decided in some kind of definitive way. By that point, much of the damage will have been done by ICE and CPB, and their ability to get certain people out of the country that they want out of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, Donald Trump is trying to lay a foundation for his view of who are true Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And by making an executive order, he's not just dog whistling, he's trying to say to the American people who believe him that this is the argument you should be making. He's trying to make this argument. He has been saying it from the time before he was a candidate. And he has now used an executive order because he now has an attorney general and he now has other attorneys around him who will let him do it, because in his first administration, they would not let him sign that executive order. And now they will.
Yeah.
So this is another example that so many of us were saying. The guardrails are off. There is no one to prevent this man. And I will just say this very clearly. If you are a Trump supporter, your chance to start repenting from that vote to support him can start right now. You now have all the rationale you need to be able to say, I did not think he would do that. And you can go through the last 30 hours and name item after item of thing you didn't think he was going to do. Because I've been told by so many Trump supporters, family members and friends and others, he's not going to do those things.
That he said he was going to do. That was the whole argument. Yeah. Like, I know he said he's going to do all this stuff, but he won't really do the terrible stuff.
Yeah. And as I was talking with some Trump supporting family members today, and I asked them, yeah, but he also said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in the first 24 hours, and he hasn't done that. And he said he was going to lower egg prices, and he hasn't done that. So why, like, stuff that could actually make a difference? So back to the executive orders. So is the ending birthright citizenship, is that worse than federal government only recognizing two sexes, two genders?
Yeah. Yeah, so if people don't know, he signed an executive order that makes it clear that in government documents and for federal government purposes, there are only not only two genders, but you will only be acknowledged by whatever gender is indicated on your birth certificate. The level of birth credibility that the Trump administration wants to give, because there's somewhere around 1.5% of the American population who is non-gender specific at birth,
Mm-hmm.
chromosomally.
Yeah.
So doctors make decisions, oftentimes with parents, in people who are born with mixed gender. Sometimes mixed chromosomes, sometimes one part of the body has one chromosomal status and another part has another. It's very fascinating. It's very complex. It's significant. And just to blow past all that, because Donald Trump wants to be sure that Elon Musk can tell his own child that the federal government will not recognize you, just like Elon Musk will not recognize his own child. For those who don't know, Elon Musk has a child who has come out as a transgender person. And he has said, Elon Musk, about his child, my child is dead to me,
Mm-hmm.
and blames wokeism on this. So, yes, there is a problem that Trump is trying to solve, and they also are targeting trans people somehow by saying that the power of the federal government has now been removed from these people to be legitimately accepted in this country. It will just continue, and we'll
Yeah.
keep going down the list. We probably can't get to all of them, but
How about,
this is
yeah,
insane.
is that worse than pulling out of both the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization?
The World Health Organization pulled out
They're all
of
the
the
worst
World
things.
Health Organization.
Does this
It's
guy not
it's
remember his last term? Does he not remember what happened when 1 million Americans died under his watch because there was a global pandemic, the response to which he badly bungled?
I think he's pretty clear that that happened, and I think he also wants to remove that from the public record, get out of the WHO. Look, if we had said, can you imagine if when we were traveling the country in the Faith, Hope, and Love for supporting democracy for all national tour, we had said Donald Trump in the first 24 hours in office is going to pull the United States not only out of the climate accord, which you probably saw coming because he did it in his first administration, but also out of the WHO, where now not only do we not receive the benefits, but we also don't receive or have the ability to contribute to world health. When we say things like Donald Trump is a threat to the well being of this country and this planet and everyone who lives on it, people thought we were being extremists. We were being extreme, but not extremists, because Donald Trump went off and did it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
pulled the
yeah, yeah.
country
But
out of the
but
WHO.
but that can't be worse than reinstating the Muslim ban.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, he did? I thought he just stopped all
No, no,
refugee immigration.
no, he
I literally
reinstated the
can't even
yeah,
keep
and
up.
he reinstated the Muslim ban, and he extended it that anyone who came here from the designated countries in the last 4 years um, can be removed from the country. So it's basically it's the Muslim ban retroactively.
Plus
Yeah,
the Muslim ban plus.
yeah,
Now, again, that was denied by courts in the first administration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they've solved some of their problems in however they've worded this executive order, but it's not probably not going to solve all of them. At some point, the country is going to have to rear its voice about this kind of thing. Because if you think he's done doing the kinds of things just in his first day as a dictator, in his little dictator day, he's not done. He's going to keep doing this.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe you're going to
But
bring this up,
but
Rob. But could it be worse than what they're doing with the federal employees by changing the standard by which long-term non-political employees can be fired and removing immediately the ability to work from home.
Yep.
It's all a setup
Well, I
to
mean, you got to get
just
rid of the deep
clear
state.
house.
Yeah. Or is it as
Maybe, but
bad
that's
as
probably not
shutting
worth.
down the CBP One app, denying court dates for asylum seekers?
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
what got. It's like all this talk of we have to secure the border from illegal immigrants, and then you also are cutting off the legal way to come here. So it's not just about this mythical we have to secure the border. It's also we just don't want people from other countries that don't look like us to be allowed to come here. So people who have had asylum court dates on the books,
Yep.
they're checking their app every day. We met so many of these families. Every day they check their app to see if their date has been set. Oh, it's 9 months from now. We have to wait in a refugee camp being hunted by the cartels while we wait for our court date to see if we can get asylum. And Trump said, nope, we're not even going to give you that. We're not even going to give you a hearing that we said we would give you under our legal process for entering this country. Yep. So just knock the legs out from under someone.
But is that as bad as ending the protection that people have in churches and schools and certain sanctuaries like that where now ICE and CBP can don't have any restrictions in terms of entering into schools and churches and other hospitals and other places to get the people that they want.
Yep. And look, if you don't know
that's
the
absolutely
practice
insane.
has been, the practice has been that certain places, churches, schools, hospitals, are places that Border Patrol and those seeking people who they want to remove from the country, whatever apparatus they're going to use, whether it's local governments or immigration services or
the
Border
military,
Patrol, or now the military, that Donald Trump has said you can go into all those places. Now that's more of a practice change, but it's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
And should be disturbing to everyone in America.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
and
but
yet, I will say this, a recent poll has the majority of Americans in this country supporting Donald Trump's positions on immigration, including these positions. And if you're a person of common good conscience, you need to start talking to family and friends about their views, because their views on this are terribly harmful. And if they're from any religious tradition, they are not meeting the standards of that religion. And if you're from a humanist or atheist tradition, they're not even reaching the level of human reciprocity. So there is no moral justification for it. And I hope you will say something to every one of your Trump supporting friends who says he's not really going to do this. Be sure they know promises made, promises kept.
And it's literally a terror campaign against people of color. It doesn't matter if you were a U.S. citizen from birth. If you look like you might be undocumented, you can be detained by ICE. They can barge into your workplace and take you and hold you without cause. And that should alarm every American citizen that we're giving the power to do this to our government.
Yep. And you need to know that ICE does not report to the regular judicial process.
Mm-hmm.
They are post-judicial process. So if you think, well, that's what the courts are for, and we just want this to all be done legally, and all we want is legal immigration, that is not how they operate. They don't have to answer legal questions. No. They don't have to answer anything. They don't have to tell anyone where these people are.
They don't need warrants. They don't need any of the things that regular police need.
When Donald Trump put in an executive order calling it a national emergency at the border, he not only gave to those people who have already had this ability, the ability to be post-judicial, but he gave it to the military. which should terrify all of us. The United States, having the United States military active on U.S. soil, the reason we don't have that, and one of the big reasons that we have National Guard, is because the National Guard protects this nation, and our Army and other military forces protect us against other nations, never against our own. But of course, not under Donald Trump's second administration. That's what he's put into place. So if you wanted to get the U.S. military out of other countries, you just elected a guy who put him into our country, where now the power of the military can be invoked against U.S. citizens.
Yeah. And speaking of the military, Jane in the chat says, so if someone is undocumented and has been here for years, but went into Army or Marines, can he send them out? Yes. They currently already deport veterans. They deport veterans all the time. We met with a group of deported veterans on the Mexico side of the border. They have served their country, and our country said, tough luck. You're out.
You're out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all the things that conservatives claim to hold dear, the Constitution, military service, service to country, none of it matters.
Faith and family.
Faith and family. God and country.
But that is not as bad as Donald Trump putting a freeze on all infrastructure spending for 90 days.
Just laying off thousands of people.
So dumb.
Well,
that was the one thing that no one had a problem with.
Here's a guy who couldn't get Infrastructure Week together in 4 years, and then feels that the other guy having Infrastructure Week be one of his primary successes is going to cancel infrastructure projects.
And then in 90 days, when he brings him back on board, he can take credit for him.
Like saving TikTok.
Oh, yeah. The other thing is he wants TikTok to be a thing. Why the president of the United States of America, the chief executive branch of one of the more significant countries on the planet, is deeply invested in the outcome of a phone application is unparalleled stupidity. It has nothing to do with the U.S. economy. It has nothing to do with human flourishing. It has nothing to do with anything that has to do with the presidency of the United States.
No, Doug, I'm gonna have to take offense to what you just said. Take some umbrage. Unparalleled stupidity.
Yes.
He renamed the Gulf of Mexico.
and today, the governor of the
Dan Crenshaw,
Secretary of State.
Oh no.
Marco Rubio?
The United States of America, Marco Rubio, referred to the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
And Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, I'm in Florida right now, talked about there being a weather disturbance over the Gulf of America.
And Dan Crenshaw, Republican congressperson, tweeted out that he looked it up on Apple Maps, and they haven't changed it to the Gulf of America yet. So he called them out on social media that they better fix that quick. It's just like they are falling over themselves to kiss up to Trump so hard. Like, I've never seen this level of cringy butt kissing. Yeah. And these are all from the tough alpha male dudes. Tough guys that don't, it's unreal.
Yeah. And I mean, is there some connection between the Gulf being named the Gulf of America and there being a once in a lifetime winter storm coming through that very region, which doesn't get snow and ice?
Well, it's clearly, as we've said,
24 hours later. I'm just
since the election of Donald Trump, the rage of judgment of the divine against the United States of America and weather patterns is continuous.
Okay, let's talk about
that's what you would have been hearing, of course, from all the Trumpers had Kamala Harris been sworn into the
Yep.
presidency yesterday.
Yeah. Can we talk about a couple other things?
Yeah.
Can we talk about Elon Musk just throwing up a Sig Heil?
Yeah. I didn't see that in him, but maybe
Did you
that's what
watch the
I thought.
video?
Have you seen it?
I first saw the shortened video of just the one motion, and then I saw the more full piece where he's talking about this side of the crowd and this side of the crowd. And so it seemed to me that it was less Nazi salute and more he's a terribly awkward man doing very awkward things. But I could be wrong.
I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
I watched at first. I was like, people are reading into it too much. Like people raise their hands and it in a still frame,
get
it
a
looks
snapshot.
awkward.
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and he beats his chest mightily, and then goes into that very distinct salute. It wasn't like a "my heart goes out to you," you know. It was. And I've watched like side by side, like actual Nazis doing the Sig Heil Hitler salute,
Wow.
and Elon Musk.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. Whether or not he meant it as that, I don't know.
Yes.
But
I think there are. I think most Americans, and I mean, Elon Musk still? Can we still consider him an American now, or has he lost his status? We're not sure.
I don't know where
I
he
feel
was
like we
born.
should look into that.
He wasn't
Wait
born
and
in
see
the
how
United
that plays
States.
out.
We might want to check into that.
There are, as a public speaker and just as a regular person in life, there are words that we know not to say. There's words in some words in some contexts are not appropriate, are there, you just don't say them. There are some words in different contexts that you might use but you wouldn't use in other contexts. You know, we understand that, and we understand that with gestures too. There's gestures that you like, even if you don't like, you just know, like, okay, I'm just gonna avoid that gesture. I'm sorry.
We're not doing a lot of pointing.
Yeah, the Sig Heil, raising your
way
arm
over there,
straight over your head like that, is it not A, it's not a natural gesture,
No.
and B, it's one that you just don't do. You just don't do it.
Had people said, "Hey, Elon Musk just did this Nazi salute," and Elon Musk were to come out and say, "Absolutely not. I reject the Nazis. I reject white nationalism. I reject white Christian." Okay, put it to bed.
Yeah, case closed. All right.
Should I go back and check X and see if he's made the case here of what he did and didn't do? Because if he wants to be the person in charge of government efficiency, he should snap to it.
And here's the thing.
Clarify things.
The Nazis thought it was a Nazi salute. So it's like,
of course.
Maybe
Okay,
Elon didn't think it was a Nazi salute, but all the Nazis are cheering about it. So I don't know.
This was the same thing with the Proud Boys when Trump said stand back and stand by. And I tried to say to them a week later when I was in a bar not far from where I am in Florida now here, having a debate with Proud Boys, literal Proud Boys, saying, Donald Trump even called you out and said to step. He said, no, he didn't. They just came hard as he told us to stand by. He called us into action, not put us away. So those groups were interpreting it, and I think it's even more important what they think. So even though I'm not sure what he was doing, if he's just being so uncomfortably Elon Musk, but as you say, they did. And you know what else? The American people are talking about it right now because it fits the type, right? Like there are certain people you wouldn't be saying, all this stuff that people are like, I am so offended that you guys are calling Donald Trump Hitler. I have a friend of mine who is on my Facebook thing who said, I just watched the movie about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and I'm even more appalled about how bad Hitler was than before. I'm like, okay, first of all, there was room. You had room to be more appalled. You had a little space there. You were like, the trains ran on time. Okay.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
sure I'd put him on the Mount Rushmore of terrible people, but
So he's like, I cannot believe you would insinuate Trump is a Hitler. Okay. First off, it was Trump who said to his chief of staff, a former general, why don't my generals do what Hitler's generals did?
Yeah.
We didn't bring that up. Trump did. It was
Yeah.
Donald Trump's ex-wife who said that Mein Kampf was sitting on his bedstand for years. It was J.D. Vance, who's now his vice president, the vice president of these great United States, who said he's acting like America's Hitler. So,
and it was his generals that were in his cabinet that said he is fascist to the core, quote, from a 5-star general that was in his cabinet, and that
Mark Milley,
who needed a preemptive pardon to keep him safe from retribution because he called Trump out. So we're not bringing it up. These are the people that are closest to Trump saying this dude is a lot like Hitler.
Yeah. What do you make of Trump not putting his hand on the Bible while being sworn?
Oh, well, in the ceremonial swearing in, right? So one of the things they do, the president is actually sworn in before they walk out for the ceremony with the chief justice. Because do you remember? I don't know if it was under Obama or Trump, somewhere when
John Roberts messed up the oath of office and they had to do it again.
But they didn't do it again because they'd already done it. That is the doing it again. Mm-hmm. So what we all see on television when they stand out in front, he is already sworn in as the president. So it happens in a private ceremony before they come out. So I know there are people saying this. It's okay he didn't do it there because that's just the ceremonial one. But he's got a Bible. He's got his wife with her clothing on, which strikes me from the culture that I come from as what you wear when you go to a funeral or a wake. He's dressed in mourning garb, holding a Bible, and Donald Trump's hand is at his side. So if you didn't know that happened, that also happened. And it answers the question. When you asked in our last podcast, will Donald Trump use his own Trump Bible?
No.
That he has a marketing plan for.
Didn't use any Bible.
Didn't use any. And by the way, let me just finish this thought. You don't have to use a Bible.
No.
You could use a Quran. You could use a Quran.
2 other presidents have not used
and a coloring book. You could use nothing or anything you want because Christian nationalist brothers and sisters, it doesn't matter because you're not making an oath on the basis of a religious text.
Yep.
That's not what you're doing. It's just symbolism.
Yeah.
And to skip the symbolism, you're saying something.
Yeah. And we could point out the hypocrisy of someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who freaked out when Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, as women took the oath of their office on a Quran instead of a Bible. And she freaked out about that. But
yeah. But it doesn't help to point out the hypocrisy because these people have no shame.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Speaking of no shame, Jeff Bezos's fiance just wearing the most inappropriate thing to more inappropriate than dressing like you're going to a funeral is her outfit.
I refuse to comment on women's outfit in public.
And I have not seen this. I've only heard
and
that it drew the eye.
You just sat back, Doug. That's fantastic. And the greatest thing that happened during the inauguration was Mark Zuckerberg sneaking a peek at Jeff Bezos's fiance. It's just amazing stuff.
So gross. So gross.
It's just,
hey, we can talk. We can talk all day long.
Episode when Elaine has a friend who wears a bra as a shirt with a jacket over it.
Yeah.
That's what she did. That's what she did.
We could talk all day, and we should, about the failures of this administration, and we will continue to do so for another 1,459 days, because that's all that's left. Hang on, and let's protect the vulnerable from this terrible administration. 1,459 more. But today, person I've been proud to call my pastor for the last 15 years, last 20 years, the Right Reverend Mary Ann Buddy, the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C., was the one leading the prayer service at the National Cathedral that was attended by the Trump family and the Vance family. She delivered a homily that was on point. I don't. Do we have it, Dan? Are we going to play it, or are we
I
just going
believe
to
I have it. You
refer
want
to
to?
it?
Let's roll to it.
Yeah. Let me just say that, because once we hear this, we should just talk about how great it was and not how terrible Donald Trump is. But watch how he squirms. Watch how J.D. Vance squirms. Watch the eye rolling of the adult children of Donald Trump, who, by the way, we're never responsible for the behavior of our children, no matter what age they are. We are all independent human beings. I'm not putting it on Donald Trump that his children don't know how to behave in church, but they don't, and how uncomfortable they are. But when leaving, a reporter asked, "How was the service?" And Donald Trump said, "Not very exciting. They could have done better." It is the heart, Christian friends, of this man misunderstanding and defiling everything you think is important. How was the church service? Not very exciting. You know who says that in my life? 12-year-olds.
Yeah. And while you're
Not
noticing that
78-year-old presidents of the United States. So sad.
he's still a baby Christian, though.
Yeah, cut him some slack, Doug.
Yeah.
He's only been
He's
a
still a
Christian for
baby.
He is a baby
And
Christian.
9 years
Baby
now.
Christian. Yeah.
9 years?
Baby-
Yeah. Should we all
baby
talk about what we did after being Christians for 9 years?
Yeah, I was in my second pastorate.
Yeah.
But that was just me. Graduated from Bible college and seminary, but that was just me. While you're
How many
watching
felonies had you racked up by that point?
while you're watching their faces,
Yeah.
and the faces of their children, you might also check the faces of their immigrant wives.
Oh, hang on a second. Who has immigrant wives?
The president and the vice president.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, maybe there's some deeply held internal family system work that needs to be going on that's coming out in a person's workplace.
Might be. Let's roll to Marianne.
Yeah.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
Amazing.
Simply the best.
Yeah.
Simply the best. He's just...
Yeah.
Don Jr. just wouldn't shut up.
Yep. As our dear friend Bono saying, "Baby, baby, baby, light the way." That's
so good for a little while there. I mean, good for her. Good for her.
Yeah.
And you know who I really am going to do all I can to be sure watches that? The senator from the great state of Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, who oversaw the inaugural process yesterday and should have said stuff like that. Instead, turned it into a process talk. Hey, we're just going to make sure everything kind of goes right and make sure everything kind of clicks along. No sense of solemnity, no sense of seriousness. For a group of unserious people, let me just say, in my view, that whole band of people sitting there that we were watching below the screen, an unserious group of people.
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
Um,
Met their match in Reverend Mary Ann Buddy, who is a person of compassion and kindness and hospitality and leadership, and is a generous, kind, competent person, and called them straight to their faces what she would say in church every Sunday. Wouldn't change a word. That's courage.
Yeah.
You know what's not courage? Fake Nazi hugging people, writing a truth social, firing someone by tweet. She will say the same things that she says to the congregation at the cathedral, that she said when she was the pastor of St. John's Episcopal Church in Minneapolis, which is where I met her, what I've heard her say around the dinner table. She will say it right there with the same kindness, same gentleness, and same leadership.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody there was taking notes on what leadership would look like? Wasn't very exciting. Could have done better.
Could have done better.
Yeah.
Nope. Couldn't have done any better, Don. Couldn't have done any better. Now, you, on the other hand, have a chance to do a little better, and you're off to a rocky start, to say the least.
Be better.
Be better.
Build back
up. One final thought from me. Did you have Vivek Ramaswamy as the first one fired in the administration on your bingo card?
No, what happened to Vivek?
He's out at Doge.
What? What happened?
He's out at Doge.
Well, he's gonna run for.
You mean they pulled some nomination or something?
Yeah, he's out.
He got Matt Gaetz.
He did.
What was he? What was he being nominated for?
Doge.
No, he's going back to. Well, he's going to Ohio,
Doge.
right?
Yeah,
to
his
run
cover
for
story
governor.
is that he's going to run for governor of Ohio.
Has he ever lived or visited Ohio? Or he's just gonna mail that one in?
Lord.
But it is. I mean, anyone could see that coming. Like, let's put two bros in charge of one thing. Had to be just this town isn't big enough for the two of us.
Yep.
Someone's got to go.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one thing to be rich like Vivek is. it's another thing to be the richest man in the world. All this, and we
Yeah.
haven't raged about the Biden family pardons and the other preemptive pardons given by Joe Biden in the final minutes of his presidency. Um, we haven't raged about the completely pointless and, as my children would say, performative act of, like Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy, declaring that the ERA is now part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
He did.
Just
He
he
tried
did,
to.
yeah.
He tried to. He didn't use any legal maneuvers to make that happen. He just
No,
said
Just
it.
he ran
shouted it
out in
into the ether.
like Michael Scott in the office declaring bankruptcy. I declare bankruptcy. Joe Biden basically just declared the ERA. And yeah, doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that.
No.
I mean, the way it does work seems pretty stupid.
Oh, sure.
But
It's up to the
it definitely doesn't.
constitutional archivist to
Yeah.
decide. Like, who? What?
I'm sorry, what?
What? Huh? And no comments on Donald Trump actually being a legitimate billionaire now.
Oh my gosh.
He's not a legitimate billionaire.
Yeah, he is.
He's not.
He finally is. He now
No.
has
He has to cash it
billions
out
of
to
dollars
to
that he
get
did not
billions
have.
of dollars, right? Right now he has play money and he needs to
He does
cash
not have
out.
it in U.S. currency. Nope.
But explain this.
$58 billion dollars.
Explain this to people who may have missed this in the flurry of insanity.
On Friday, late Friday night, Donald Trump unexpectedly announced that he was launching a cryptocurrency called a meme coin, which is basically meme coins. There's cryptocurrency that's used for actual transactions of some kind, like Bitcoin and others that you've heard of. You know, like Doug's going to crack a marijuana joke now. And then there are other cryptocurrencies that are much more like monopoly money in that they're just for fun. They're like memes. And one of them, we now have a government agency named after. There's one called Doge that was very popular with a dog, and Elon Musk bought a bunch of it. And basically the idea of a meme coin is like it's play money that you get and you hold, and it's but then every once in a while it gets very, like, people take an interest in it, it gets valuable, people want it, so they pay money for it, actual money, and the value goes up.
Like
And
Beanie
they always
Babies.
say, like, it's going to the moon. It's, think of it like, like an IPO with stocks. So Elon Musk had famously done this with Doge, where he bought a bunch of Dogecoin, and then he would tweet about it, and it would get people excited, and they would buy it, and so the value would go up. Now there's a government agency named after it. The Hawk-Tua girl, who was my wife had never heard of, which I don't know what to say about that.
I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of the Hawk-Tua girl?
Good luck Googling
she
that
very
one.
well, she might be in Time Magazine's, People of the Year 2024.
Oh.
Um,
I don't know last year's Time Magazine Person of the Year off the top of my head. I mean, I know.
yeah, but I mean,
year.
she was one of the big people of the year.
I don't know.
Don't Google it.
She's a real,
but anyway, so
person.
she launched a coin and did what, as Starchild just put in the comments, a rug pull, where basically you get the value to go up real high, and then you pull out and cash out and make a bunch of money. The Hawk-Tua girl did that and made, I think, $1.5 million in a matter of hours. Donald Trump on Friday launched Trump Coin, his own meme coin, and it is now his portion that he owns is now worth $58 billion.
Yeah, it's not. Well, you can say anything's worth anything. I mean, I have a microphone right here that's worth $174 million. And that's its value. And I'm going to insure it for $178 million. dollars. If I try to turn that into United States currency, that's another story. Like we'll do a whole thing on this about even stocks and everything else, where you have an evaluation in the trillions of
Right,
dollars more than
right,
the
but
amount of
no,
money that
yes,
exists.
Doug, I'm
This
with
is
you,
the
but let
problem.
let me interrupt you here,
This
Doug.
is not what
Let me
anyone
interrupt you
means when
here.
they
But
say how much money is someone worth. It
yes,
has to
but
be in US
me-
dollars.
the point of the
It's
meme
just so
coin thing,
stupid.
the point of the meme coin thing is the rug pull. It's the pump and dump. It's the you get it valued high and then you
Yes.
cash
You
out.
cash in your chips, everyone else is left with
Is
But
everybody
the
else
here's
is full
monopoly money.
but here's the point I'm
invaluable.
saying.
Donald Trump
$58 billion did not change hands. That's the point I'm making. If $58 billion is not in a place that Donald Trump can go and get the $58 billion, then these are evaluation estimates. No matter what the product is, the
sure.
money actually has to be there. So this whole thing, the degree to which
James, what
Donald
are you
Trump's
talking
going to try
about?
to grift
I don't know
millions of
where we're
dollars off people, of course he is.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but there's no
And
$58
then
billion
and then on Saturday
of
they launched a
US
Melania coin as
currency.
well.
Of course they did. Of course they did. Like, I guess you could find out how much money was US dollars was exchanged through a exchange system into Trump coins or Melania coins. That would
I
be
have a
the
friend.
total amount of money Donald Trump could have available to him. The evaluation that, oh, somebody could buy, that's its own just series of nonsense. In fact, we do an entire thing in our economy where we grant to people wealth that doesn't exist other than an evaluation, right? In other
Net
words, you
worth.
take anyone top 15 wealthiest people you know, and if they were to cash all that in so they actually have that money,
Stacks of
not
cash like
only
us in Cuba.
yeah, that's right.
Stacks of
We know what that
cash.
looks
Can
like.
you imagine how many Cuban
Y-
pesos Elon Musk would
Yeah,
have to have? It would
yeah,
just be oh,
it would be a country's worth. There'd be a country's worth. So anyway, this is a whole thing about what we've chosen to do in economy now that we have an economy based on nothing but the the trust of the US dollar, and then stock evaluations and other evaluations that are not rooted in the actual economy, which is why I'll just say it for the thousandth time, probably the stock market is not the economy. This is what people mean when they say that. They don't really mean it's not equal to, or if it does well, the economy is doing well. They're saying it functions outside of the economy. It's its own valuation. And when you move that in to start to deal with actual US dollars and to pull them out, something begins to change very quickly.
mhm. I was sitting next to a friend
In other words,
yesterday.
we can't be worth more money than the US economy. Nothing can be worth more money than the amount of money that's been produced and is in circulation by the United States government. And the stock market is evaluated, multiple times more. So all this stuff is just wildness.
I was sitting next to a friend yesterday when he purchased some Trump coin, and he paid a high price for it because he and I mean
Like how
the other
much? Like,
I don't know. I don't know how
But
much he paid.
real
like,
money for the people are putting real US
As I
dollars,
said to you guys
exchanging
in the
them
group
for
chat, it was not dissimilar to us changing American money into Cuban pesos a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
It just felt like, okay, I'm giving you real money and you're giving me fake money. Big stack of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I can use it in
Alex,
this
why don't you
place.
talk about your heart necklace, Doug?
But when I want to put it back, I'm sorry, say that again.
Alex in the chat would like you to talk about your heart necklace.
Oh, thank you, Alex. I actually made a little separate videos about this. Bought this in Cuba from a vendor, and I don't wear necklaces. I don't, other than on vacation when I wear pukas. And that's only in Mexico, which, if you don't know where it is, it's right on the Gulf of America. And I liked this one because I liked it that it was white and it's a
nice.
stone and it's smooth. But I like the idea that so there's this little short rope and it sits right up by my throat. And when a minute I saw it, I thought of that expression, you've got your heart in your throat, which often means that people are so verklempt or so emotional that they can't quite speak. But I think it could have a broader meaning than that, which is when we speak for the next 1,459 days, let's put our heart there. Because so many of us, and I've count myself in this group, will sometimes keep our heart out of it. And I don't just mean be all emotional or gushy or something, but like say it with all you've got. There is no more holding back. A lot of people are going to hold back. They're not all going to be Reverend Mary Ann Buddy. And that's what I want to do. So I'm going to wear this when I wear it as a clarion call to me to be like, we've just got to say it. For a lot of us, there's not a lot we're going to be able to do about the Trump administration and the damage that it's going to cause, but we can talk and we can say things. And as Rob will remind us, words are things. Words are actions. Words perform. They do a thing. That's why all this drives us so crazy watching Trump use language the way he uses it. So say it full-hearted, say it open-heartedly, say it with all you've got. And that's why I'm going to wear it. I will wear it. I'm sure there'll be sometimes I'll take it off, but when I'm wearing it, that's what I'm going to be wearing it for.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Nice. And Yabbits says, please, when you get a chance, how is Nick Brock?
Oh.
Nick Brock's great. Well, last time I talked to him.
Why is he asking? Is there something we don't know?
Do you know Nick Brock?
Should we be more concerned?
Are you holding Nick Brock right now? Is this like a coded message? Like,
is there a newspaper?
I would love to send Nick Brock a text right now, but I can't from my computer because he's one of those Android people.
Is it possible we know two different Nick Brocks? That you know one and we know another? All right, yeah, but hey, thanks y'all for putting up with this.
I got a really interesting text from Nick Brock this week.
Now what? Hey, Star Child is back
with news. I can't. Star Child seems to disagree with us on Trump and agrees with me on Trump coin. So there you go.
I think that might have been sarcasm, that one I just put up.
Yeah.
I'll have you know that Trump has the best words.
That was quoting Trump, which then makes it complicated to know what in the world.
The best words, the biggest words, huge words. Yeah. Hey, well, we're going to keep talking because we can't normalize these things. No. And it's easy to, like, he's putting out a fire hose of craziness. And that's part of the strategy, is to just flood the zone with as much wildness. And so you can't even address all of it at once. But we got to keep talking about it. Can't let it become normal. And got to keep pushing.
Well said, Daniel. Well said. All right.
Well, let's go be sad, I guess, for a little while.
Let's go play some sad songs.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. I think this is so therapeutic. We could barely get ourselves to do it. So, but it really is hard.
Almost didn't.
It's like, yeah, it's like other things that can be good for you that are also hard to do. It's easy to just, not do them and then get down with a little exercise. You're like, I'm really glad I did that. So, thanks you. Glad we did this. Thanks to all of you.
We'll see you when we see you.
Thanks, everybody.